Morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our global Nimble community and Keenan's community. I am super excited to be here with Keenan today because on a daily basis, this guy inspires me. Not just how he inspires and educates sales and sales leadership around the globe of how to achieve their goals, but because he is a fucking amazing human being. And I'm going to say the F word. I'm sorry. Keenan is a role model of a human being because he doesn't accept the norm. He marches to a different drummer and he dedicates himself to his family, which I love on a daily basis. So with that, let's get rid of the slides and let's put our cameras on, Jim, and let's have a chat about your new book, Gap Selling. I want to say, Jim, I went through this book and I was moved. It challenged me, right? I'm a relationship guy. I'm the Don Quixote of relationships. And your book said, yeah, relationships, they matter. But what matters is how can you transition your customers from where they are today to where they need to be, some of them not even knowing where they need to be. And it moved me. It really did. It inspired me to put on a Keenan shirt.
Yes.
For those that don't know, red is Keenan's color. And one of the things I'm going to want to know, Keenan, is why red? What is red all about? Because every time I see you, I see books with red. I see plaid shirts with red. And now you got the Gap Sell T-shirt, which I got to say, I need one of those shirts.
Yeah, we got to be a gap seller. So you got to finish the book and be gap seller, right? Because if you're not gap selling, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
The short story on that is somebody in the industry, well, Jill Conrath, challenged me on a shirt I was wearing at a conference once. She goes, "Why do you always wear that same shirt?" It just happened to be a plaid shirt, like a plaid, that's all. And I didn't realize I wore it. I was like, I don't know, I don't wear the same one. She goes, "Well, you have the last 3 conferences." I'm like, "Really?" So I'm like, "I don't know why." And she goes, it makes me think it's your brand." The minute she said that, fireworks went off. And I was like, ooh, brand. So from that day on, I always wore red plaid shirts everywhere I went for in public and for on video and stuff, because my company logo, a sales guy, is red, black, and white with a bit of gray. So those are our color palette, red, black, gray, and white. So red, I don't know, just I like how it looks better. It stands out more, so I went with red.
I got it. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to give you the stage so you could tell us about what is gap selling. And I'm going to be in the background. I encourage everybody in the audience to ask questions. We will compile those and do Q&A at the end. But for now, Keenan, I'm going to push the soapbox over to you. We're in your church and inspire and educate us, buddy.
Woo, can I get a witness? Hallelujah. Okay, so all right, look, the reason I wrote Gap Selling and what I want you guys to walk away with today is that if we're going to be salespeople, we're going to run sales organizations, we need to understand one main thing, okay? And if you accept this main premise, everything else takes care of itself. Okay, it's this. When people look to buy something, they're making a decision. So when someone's looking to make a decision, whether it's to buy something or to do something, whatever, they're looking to change. They want to change. Okay. So even if it's not necessarily selling a book or, selling a pen or whatever, if you're getting someone to move, to do something, your kid to eat broccoli, the girl or guy you're dating to marry you, to get your friends to go to see Drake as opposed to see Meek Mill, then you're selling. You're selling. And so if you accept the premise that selling is about transitioning people, changing people from one thing to another, then the whole entire selling process needs to be built on that premise. And that premise is made up of 3 things. Where you are today, the current state. What is my life, my situation, my environment today? Where do I think I want to go? Where should I want to go, etc. in the future, based on my perception or goal or beliefs or desires of what I could get in that future state. And then the comparison between the two is the gap. And that's what it's about. That's the whole thing about gap selling. And so what you do is if you understand it, then you should be selling that way. So a perfect example is most salespeople, when we start selling, all we start to do is we start to talk about the future state. I do trainings all over the world now. It's amazing how many trainings I got to do these days. But anyway, I shouldn't say I love doing them. And we start doing exercises. And we start trying to do discovery around gap selling. And 2 questions in, everybody starts saying, well, if I could make this happen, would you do this? Hey, what would you like this to look like? And imagine if we could make that. And everybody starts running to the future state. The problem with running to the future state is you have no comparison to where they are today. So how do you know that that future state has any value whatsoever? You have no clue where they are today. You have no clue on the size of the problem they're trying to solve. And so the minute you get to future state, what you're doing is you're product-centric selling. The big thing we talk about in gap selling is you need to be a problem-centric seller, not a product-centric seller, right? Product-centric sellers talk about the product, right? They talk about the features. They talk about the benefits. They live solely in the future state. They talk about them. They talk about their company. They talk about what it can do. They talk about the outcomes of the product. They don't talk about the business outcomes, right? Problem-centric sellers, they actually have conversations around the environment the person is currently in, right? The problems of that environment, the impact of those problems on them, on the organization, on their people. They quantify the impact, how much it hurts, how much it's painful, what's happening, how you define it, all of that, how much money you're losing, how much this doesn't happen, how much you don't get of this, right? How less efficient you are. They actually quantify all those impacts. And then they have the ability to actually attach emotion to that. They have the ability to attach identify the root causes, right? If you're problem-centric selling and you start to understand the current state and all of that stuff that's going on, you can actually start suggesting root causes. So saying, does it happen because of this? And you find you experience this because of that, and you lay out the root causes. All of that drives credibility. And to my point about relationships, and John saying he was a relationship guy his whole life, and I argue relationships really don't matter that much in sales. What I'm really saying is relationships don't matter in sales if they're based on likability. But if you can build a relationship on credibility, you win. Like, it's game over. Look, how many of you have ever been to the doctor? I know all of you have. And you told them, you walk in and you say, I need a Z-Pack, or I got a cold, or I don't feel good. And the doctor asks 1 or 2 questions and then prescribes something. How does that make you feel? 9 out of 10 times, you don't feel very good, especially if the doctor says, I'm not sure what it is. He's like, I'm not sure what this is. It could be bacterial. It could be viral. It could be this. Why don't you take this and let me know how it goes? Nobody feels good about that. Nobody. But yet it happens all the time. But what about the doctor that starts asking you questions before they say anything? Like, hey, have you done this lately? Have you been to this place? Have you changed your laundry detergent? Have you been around somebody here? And they start asking all these random questions. Like, where are they going with this? And then they finally drive to a point and say, you know what I think it is? I don't think you have a cold. I think you have this, or there's something else going around. And this is why I think that. And you're like, oh my God, this guy's a genius, or this girl's a genius. They got to my problem, and now what they've just told me I need to do, I believe is going to solve the problem. Well, that's how salespeople should be. It's time we change the way we sell. We don't normally sell in this fashion. We don't normally start to try to diagnose our customers' problems. And that's the problem with salespeople today. It's not that you can't sell, it's that you can't diagnose. You do an awful job at diagnosing what the problem is the customer is trying to solve and the impact of that problem. Because guys, people don't buy on problems. They buy on the impact the problem is having on their life. And more importantly, they buy on the impact the problem is having in allowing them to achieve the goals and objectives and quality of life that they perceive they want, they're trying to aspire for, or expect to have. That's how we buy. And that's what we're going through. And that's the process we work through when we're ever thinking about investing money. Because that's all that is. I'm not buying. Look, I've sold thousands and thousands of these. Not a single person bought this because they wanted a book. Every person who bought that had some desired or perceived outcome that they thought they were going to achieve in their sales world, in their, whether it was they thought they'd get better lead conversion, whether they thought they would increase sales, whether they thought they'd get customers to stop going dark on them, whether they thought they'd be able to overcome price better, whether they thought they'd be able to do better demos, whether they thought they'd be able to President's Club, whether or not they thought they could beat the guy sitting next to him or the girl sitting next to him. That's what was going on in their mind. That's why they bought it. They didn't buy it for the book. They didn't buy it for the pages. They didn't buy it for the knowledge inside. They bought it for what they thought the outcome would be. And they had a problem in their head. They had a problem in their head that they thought they needed to solve. They said, ooh, maybe this will solve that problem. And they did that whole thing on their own because, and I guess through the marketing, et cetera, help trigger it. But when we're in B2B sales and we get on the phone with somebody, we start talking to them, we need to be able to help them uncover that problem, assess that problem, and get them to admit that they have the problem, then begin to help them evaluate the size of the problem, and then get them to think about the impact the problem is having on them and their organization, and then get them to think how that problem, the impact that problem is having on them is preventing them from getting to where they want to be, and how big that space is, and how far away they are because they let that problem continue. That's our goal. And the last thing I'll say before I let John come on and you guys ask questions or whatever is too many of us think the minute a customer says, hey, I need this. Hey, I need a CRM. Hey, I need a new entertainment system. I need sales training. I need new medical devices, right? I need consulting services. The minute the client or buyer says, I need, we jump all over it. We're all excited. Ooh, but no, because half the time our clients don't even understand what they need, or they think they need something, and in the end, they don't. And we could have avoided a long sales cycle because they were never going to buy in the first place because what they thought they needed was a poor diagnosis of the problem, or we lose the sale because what they think they need, we can't provide. What they actually needed, we could have provided, right? Or we don't sell enough. We sell one thing when we could have sold a whole bunch of things, or we sell one product when we could have sold all of our products because we didn't understand what they need. So when a customer comes to you and says, I need something, can you tell me about? Don't ever accept that. Don't ever accept what a customer tells you they want. Don't ever accept when a customer tells you what they think. Don't ever accept anything a customer says when they tell you what they want or think. You need to validate it. So when someone comes and says, hey, I need consulting services, you say, fantastic. Can you tell me a little bit about your organization? Can you tell me a little bit what is the problem behind this? Can you tell me about why you think you need consulting service? Can you tell me about what's going on, and start a conversation and start digging into what the problem is? What are they struggling with? And I'll tell you a quick story to highlight this point. Many years ago, back in the Palm Pilot days, before cell phones, I went to Boston for a conference. I forgot my charger to my Palm Pilot, which isn't a big deal because they almost never ran out of battery. They were like camels to water. I mean, these things last forever because they weren't pinging the network all the time. And I woke up the next morning and sure as shit, bam, it was out of battery. I'm like, it was full yesterday. What the frick? And so I didn't know who I was supposed to meet. I didn't know where I was supposed to be. I didn't know what time my first appointment was. I couldn't call anybody. I was stuck. And here I am at a conference, and for my company, I know I got places to be. So as luck would have it, there was a Franklin Covey store. I ran down to the Franklin Covey store. I said, yo, I need a charger. And I grabbed the charger. I put it on the table. And I said, come on, I got to ring up. And he goes, can I offer you anything else? And I'm like, hey, man, come on. I got to go. And he's like, can I offer you a case or anything? You could see my palm had a case. Like, it was right there. And I'm like, dude, I got to go. And I was thinking, someone taught him to upsell. He's trying to upsell. Someone taught him that, and that's what he's doing. And I said, no, I got to go. He goes, well, can I ask you one question? And I'm like, I'm all intrigued now. I'm like, all right, game on. I'm in. And he says, does your battery run out because when you put it in your pocket or in your briefcase, the case depresses the buttons and holds them pressed the whole time it's in there until it's completely depleted of power. And I'm like, yes, that's what happened. He goes, hold on. Have you guys ever seen that movie Zootopia with the sloths at the DMV? He was kind of like that. He was slow, and he slowly went to the back shelf, and he took something off the wall, and he came back, and he slowly opened it up, and I could see it was a case. And I'm like, what is this cat doing? And he starts to take the case out of the packaging, and I can see it's the exact same brand case I already have, same color, same size. And I'm like, this dude is about to get a rash of heat from me. And then he opens it up, and on the inside are 5 cutouts. So you can no longer press on the case and press the buttons down and drain it of power. And do you think I bought that case? You're damn straight. And so I tell the story all the time, and I tell it in the book to illustrate the point. I thought I needed a charger. Technically speaking, I didn't need a charger. I needed power. He could have charged me for 25, 30 minutes. I would have gotten through the week. And what I needed was the case to stop making my battery prematurely run out of power. That's what I needed, but I didn't know that. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't aware. He sold me a charger and a case, and I was happy about it. I was happy about it. That's what selling's all about. That's what salespeople don't do. That's why it's time we change. That's why you need to buy this book, because you're not doing it. And even if you think you're doing it, I know you're not doing it because you don't do it well. So there you go, Johnny. I hope that helps. Hope that helps for everybody. Come on in. What questions do you guys have?
Deliver it, baby. Deliver it. You know what I love? You just in a very short period of 20 minutes delivered the meat of the book, but made them want more. And there's a ton of questions, so let's get to some of them. But the first thing I want to share is there's Chad Keenan says, can you get on my 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time call today and co-run this with me? Love the principles learned here. I already own your book, and it has changed my approach and success already. Do you know Chad?
I don't. Well,
you're going to know Chad.
Way to go, Keenan. I like his name. It's close. We must be distant cousins.
Keenan. So before we get to the questions, Jim, I wanted to cover some of the topics in the book that stopped me a little bit. So you start out with part 1 and knowing the game. And I think you took us through a lot of the meat of that. But I want to get, now that I know the game, and by the way, was that football story true? Did you play football?
God, yeah. Yeah, no, I'd be a real good writer if I could make that up. I still, at 50 years old, so it's 40 years later, I can still see the ball wobbling and thinking, boy, that was a terrible pass. Like, the exact same memory, and I still remember jumping up. A lot of the stuff I don't remember after. I know I pieced together. But visually, I can still see the field. Yes. Oh, absolutely. It stuck with me my whole life.
So tell us that story for those that haven't read the book yet. To briefly give us the story.
So my mom put me in football because I was super hyper, and I didn't know anything about the sport. I was a super hyper kid that played sports all around the yard, but I didn't know any of the rules of any of the games. So my mom throws me in football. I show up, I put on all the pads, I walk out, hey, what do I do? And they're like, welcome. And I was a good athlete, so they wanted to play me like, hey, this kid's fast, he's not afraid to hit. And so they put me in safety and said, okay, your job is to tackle the guy with the ball. Because they knew I couldn't figure out the rest of the game. I'd already proved that. They'd give me other stuff and it was too complicated. So like, I could do this. So the whole season, or as the season started, I just handed the ball off. I'm 8 years old or 9 years old, whatever it was, and I ran around and tackled the guy with the ball. Well, we were playing this team that was really good. It was 4th down. They were on like their 5-yard line. We'd already held them for 7 plays because it was a penalty. It was amazing. They were undefeated. They were always undefeated. We had a chance to at least tie them, if not beat them. And the 4th and goal, they snapped the ball, and these little 10-year-old kids or whatever yelled pass. And I was like, pass? What the fuck you mean pass? Like I froze because they weren't handing it off. And then I looked to my right and I saw this guy standing somewhat next to me, and I looked at the quarterback. Oh, he's going to throw it to him. So I did my job. I ran up to the kid and I stopped and I looked at the quarterback and then he threw it and I looked up at the sky and I saw the ball and I looked down at the receiver and I looked at the ball and I looked at the receiver and I'm timing everything. Like I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, here he's going to catch it right there. And so I stepped back waiting for him to catch it. So the minute he caught it, I could pummel him. And that's exactly what I did. And I jumped up all excited that I tackled him really hard and blah, blah, blah. But I let him catch it in the end zone. Like I literally let him catch it in the end zone because I didn't know the end zone meant a touchdown. I was still thinking it was the crossbars. You had to run past the crossbars. Yeah, and so I lost.
And I think that's the secret to the fact that you got to know how to play and you got to know the game in order to how to play.
Yeah.
So one of the things that that stuck with me is this chapter 7, getting them to let you help. What's that all about?
Yes. So look, at the end of the day, if you buy into the fact this is about change, okay, and you buy into the fact that your job is to help them maximize the transition, to maximize the change from where they are today to where they're going tomorrow, then you have got to get them to let you help. So it's the same thing like a doctor. I use this metaphor all the time or analogy all the time. If I go to a doctor and I will not tell him my symptoms, I will not tell him I got the runs because I'm embarrassed, or I won't let him check me in places that are uncomfortable because I'm embarrassed, right? He or she is not going to be able to help me. And so I'm going to end up dying from colon cancer. I'm going to end up dying from a stomach cancer. I'm going to end up dying because I won't let them help me. So doctors have to get comfortable, to get people feel comfortable. You have to have the credibility, not the, hey, buddy, I love you. Hey, you went to my school and I went to your school and we both live in Denver. No, it's I am an expert in your problems. And I'm asking really good questions and you feel comfortable like, hey, I'm going to let this guy keep going because I think he can help me. Because if they won't let you help, you cannot solve their problems. You can't solve their problems. You can't sell. You can only pitch. All you do is pitch. And if you're pitching, you're not selling. You're an order taker.
Yeah. So I think that credibility is so critical to your success in life. And I often teach people, you need to establish yourself as the trusted advisor to not only your prospects and customers, but their influencers as well. So they recommend you to those prospects and customers. But then when you're connecting with another human being, I do believe that credibility combined with intimacy and trust get somebody to open up to you about their business issues, which as a professional, you can then solve. And so that particular chapter did stand out to me. The next one was how to do a kick-ass demo. Now, we all have to do demos at some time on our products. And I think this is important, especially for SaaS companies. You know, if you are going to do a demo, how do you do that demo? And when do you do the demo? Maybe. Let's cover that first. Should you do a demo?
So there's if the customer wants and it helps you sell and it's part of your sales process, I'm a huge fan of demos. But product-centric demos and people who live in the product-centric world start talking about the features and benefits and start doing a demo very quickly. They might have a very short discovery and then start talking about the products and features. A problem-centric demo says, hey, hold on, before I show you the product, let me understand your problem. And they go through a discovery that breaks down the current, like I said before, the current state, physical and literal facts, the problems, the impacts, the root causes, and there's another one, I'll go into it later. And once you have all of that information and you really understand the current state and where they want to go, then you can do a demo. And all you do in that demo is you show no more than 6 features. There could be sub features. I'm okay with that. But 6 unique features that solve the problem they said they have. If you're doing a demo and you are not able to say, and this will solve this problem, not you said you wanted this feature, but you said, I'm making this up, you said you can't fix your influx capacitor. Great. This feature fixes influx capacitors like that, right? You say you can't talk to these systems. This will talk to these systems, and then what you do is you spray the outcome. Therefore, you'll be able to shorten your reporting time. Therefore, you'll be able to make your cargo faster. Therefore, and you spell the future state. And that's all you do. And if you do that, you basically just teed them up, and they almost have to say, I'll buy now.
Yeah.
Because you just solved every problem they had.
and then stop talking. Right?
Stop talking.
Stop talking. And
Anchor. Please anchor them. Once you say, hey, John, can you see how, and you do the feature, blah, 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 this could shorten your reporting time by 6 hours per person, like you said. Can you see how that, and therefore it would get you that time back to spend more time in marketing. And you say, can you see that? That's called anchoring. I want you to say, yes, I can see that. Because if you say, no, I missed something, I gotta go back and fix it.
Okay. So then the issue is if we know about what gap selling is, and our job is to learn enough about that person and their company to be able to facilitate getting them across that gap, how do we do smart prospecting so that we find people that we could do that gap selling with? So you have a section in your book about how to prospect smarter. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's a great question. And it's the same concept, but you have to make a few assumptions. But what guides us in those assumptions is what we sell. So every product or service we have, somebody somewhere, let me phrase it, every product or service we sell solves a problem. Or if it didn't, no one would buy it.
Yeah.
Whether we knew what the problem was isn't the point. Someone bought something because it solved a problem for them, right? So what I tell people to do is I want you to make a list of all of the problems your product or service sells. Make that list, then make a list right next to it of the impact on an organization if that problem exists. And then in the next column right next to that, list all of the reasons that those problems, all of the reasons of why those problems can affect or get into an organization. Why do they exist, right? That's the root causes. If you can get all of that down and you start prospecting, it's like fishing. You start looking for the problem. So when you write an email to somebody, you're not saying, can I have 50 minutes to talk to you about my product? What you want to do is start with a problem. Hey, John, I understand most of your organizations suffer from 6-hour reporting lags that cause these types of problems. The board gets pissed off. They make poor capital decisions. This happens, that, and you spell out a whole problem and then say, the reason these happen is this. I'd love to talk to you about how my company, my product could fix that problem. And so your take rates go up because people who has that problem, anybody who has that problem isn't going to logically say, I have that problem and I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. They're like, wait, I have this problem. Let's talk. And that's how you do it.
And what I love about your book is it takes a typical email that you and I get every day. Too many of these emails, right? And they're just generic emails. They don't get to the point. They're talking about their products and services. They're not talking about you, putting you as a center of the story, you as the hero that they're going to help save. And you translate that letter into, you rewrote it, and you basically teach people how to do this. And what I also love is you tell people that it's okay to pick up the effing phone.
Damn, yeah, call. Hell yes.
Mix them up. Pick up the phone. And I'm going to tell you something I do. When I get cold calls from salespeople, do you know what I do, Jim? I sell them. I help transform them into a better version of themselves because so many of them stumble. I teach them how to fish better, and then I tell them I sell a fishing pole to do it.
That's awesome. Yes, that's awesome. I love it.
Okay, so let's get to some questions here. We've got a ton of them. So the first one was from Chuck Royer, and I think you covered this. How did you start with your brand? And I think that you told us it was the story with Jill Conrath. And I think that your brand and your network are your net worth, and that everybody, not just salespeople, need to be worried about their brand and their network. And I love how you brand yourself every day. Another question from Jonathan Lerner, as we help customers. Go ahead.
Real quick, if that person wants to know, it's a terrible plug, but I follow Not Taught. So if you haven't read my book, Not Taught, that'll help you all you need to know with how building your own brand and how to leverage it. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. And the next question was from Jonathan Lerner. He said, as we help customers uncover what we perceive to be the problem, how direct can we be in pointing it out? Can we tell them they have the problem or suggest this area might be an issue?
That's a great question. And John, I wish I had more time with you because it's complex, but I'll do my best to nail it. If you did the discovery right, you don't have to tell them they have the problem. In other words, if you ask the right questions, they'll start to realize they have a problem. And someone asked me this question in a training once, and it was probably inappropriate, but it fucking worked. I said, how many people here are married, right? And a bunch of people raised hand. I said, how many of you are happily married? A bunch of them raised hand. I took one guy. I said, you're happily married, right? And I said, I won't make you answer these questions, but I know what questions to ask to find out where your marriage isn't happy. I said, how often do you and your wife go out on one-on-one dates? When's the last time you went out on a trip together by yourselves? How often do you have sex in your marriage? How often do you spend time with the kids as a family? How often do you buy your wife flowers? How often have you cleaned the house for her? When's the last time she got mad at you? Can you tell me right now the thing that makes her the most angry? And I said all these questions. And based on his answers, he would know pretty quickly whether he's happy or not, where he's fucking up. Right?
Yeah.
So that's where I teach people you should never, ever have to tell the customer what the problem is.
What you're saying, Jim, is they know. Based off of you leading them down with some questions, they know. People aren't that dumb. And so I think the answer to the question is if you ask the right questions, if you go down the right path with the customer, they self-discover. And that's better than you telling them is awareness and the self-discovery.
Yes. You create the awareness with the questions. That's the short answer. Well said.
Okay. So a question from Elzen, and I know I'm probably just slaughtering that name. I apologize. Is there a difference between pull and push strategy? What's the implication? What's the implication on the way of selling since many service businesses are following push strategy?
Is push and pull the difference between outbound and inbound?
I'm not sure. We're going to have to get him to come back to us with that. Yeah. Michaela, if you get that from him, let us know. So Chuck Royer, I don't know if you know Chuck, by the way. Chuck was one of our top Goldline resellers. He's one of our top Nimble partners. He's basically throwing you some props saying that you exhibit a wonderful animated teaching and common sense focus on gap selling and its inspirational message. And he says it's great to be part of this. Thank you, Chuck. Udo Solberger, what if I only have one product or service to sell? That's not customizable.
It still has to solve a problem. I use it all the time. I'm like, okay, I don't have a piece in front of me, but I've used this analogy many times. Gum. Forget what kind of gum right now. Gum, right? Spearmint, peppermint, doesn't matter. I can show you three different situations of how somebody uses the gum. Right now I need a piece because my mouth tastes like crap and it's driving, talking a lot. Another time is I'm in a conference and I don't want to embarrass people. Third time is I just had garlic and I've got a date with Molly Sims in 20 minutes, right? Each one of those problems has a greater impact. So I might spend $1 to quench my dry mouth right now, but really not much more, no big deal because I'm home alone, who cares? I might spend $2 or $3 to do it if I'm at a conference and don't want to embarrass myself and lose a deal. But you bet your ass I'll run all the way to the 7-Eleven, half quarter mile away, and spend $20 for a piece of gum to make sure that I have a good date with Molly Sims. So it doesn't matter. It's what's the problem and the impact. So one problem, one product, who gives a shit? What problem? What's the impact of that problem existing? How do you make it go away?
Yeah, there's a pizza place near my house called Ray's Pizza. And guess what they sell?
Gum.
Pizza. That's all they sell.
Yes, pizza. Okay, yes.
And you know what? It's good pizza, and I go there all the time. So the question about push-pull was push is going after the customer, pull is having the customer come to you.
Inside, outside. Yeah.
Trusted advisor thing that you're talking about is as part of building your brand, you need to establish yourself as a trusted advisor so that when your prospect or customer or their influencer needs your product or services, they not only pick up the phone and call you, but they drag their friends with them. And so it's part of the idea of gap selling, but it's really part of not taught, right?
Yeah. So if you're talking about inbound and getting people to follow you and come in, or you're talking about outbound, the concept is still the same. From the inbound perspective, you should be addressing in blog posts and LinkedIn and videos, whatever you want to do, talking about the problems that your target market experiences that you solve. You can write posts on how to, 6 ways to solve XYZ problem or why people struggle with, and build a following with people who understand the problems. If it's outbound, you reach out to one person and you ask them if they have that problem, but it's still problem centric, 100% problem centric.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is Keenan, your approach in working with lower level people in large organizations. RFP, list of requirements. How do you gain access and get around the leadership asked us to work with what we have?
Okay, so that's a tricky one. And okay, you might have to help me get this faster. So what I say, well, first, if someone refuses access and they say, just give us an RFP, gap selling doesn't work. And in my opinion, that's not even selling. Okay, so if that's your business or you're required to do those and they're blind or no one can talk to anybody and they have quiet periods and all that shit, then that's gap selling doesn't work. Can't help you. Not my world. Sorry. If someone does RFPs, but they allow you to talk to people and you have relationships, then again, it's going to sound like a broken record. You get that lower level person to tell you what problem or set of problems they're trying to solve with the RFP. You get them to tell you what the impacts of those problems are to the organization. You get them to measure or define those impacts, not just say we can't do this, but define it all. And then what you do is you package it all together and you take a look at the RFP and you say, wait a minute, you have these problems, but the RFP is only going to cover 50% of those. And so you say, if you want this, this, and this covered, you need to look for this and this and this. If you want this covered, you need to look at this. Now, because the RFP is the solution to the future state. If you can show that RFP does not bridge them from where they are to the desired future state, you win because now you start building the bridges. All right, so that's how you do it. And you got to do it for every person in the selling cycle because sometimes people have different needs and expectations. So you got to start over every time.
Okay. Got some more feedback. Jeannie Hill, this is great, much in part of the passion. Okay, this is actually a question. So this is great, much in part to the passion. How would you encourage the good-hearted, skilled, but soft-spoken pro who can play but isn't so visible?
Okay, so that's a great question. My natural style is to get excited and go crazy, but that's because I'm excited about what I'm doing and promoting this, and I see the value and the impact. But when I'm sitting across a customer, I'm not this animated. I am in an intellectual freaking space zone, and I'm processing their business, and I'm thinking, John, you've been doing CRM since Goldmine. Where'd you come up with the idea for Nimble? How are you getting your salespeople to get to that small business? Doesn't that cost a lot of money? Isn't that a high cost of sales because the average price of Nimble is much lower than this? How do you accomplish this? Can you tell me about how you did that? Wow, that must be a struggle. Have you found ways to overcome this? What about the competition? How are you handling the partnership? And I am all of a sudden 2,000 octaves down. I'm like a professor sitting in class, and I'm just having a conversation. Because the questions are what capture people. Yes, your personality has to be authentic to you, but it's actually the power of the question. Here is a great litmus test to determine if you're doing this right. Anytime a customer stops, does that puppy dog thing like, that was a great question, you're winning. If you don't have a thing where someone says that's a great question, you haven't had a good discovery. So don't worry about not being animated or passionate. Doesn't matter.
So, Jim, Keenan, I think that is all of the questions that I see. Let's bring this on home and tell people how they can actually learn more. So I'm going to turn my camera off and turn my screen on, and hopefully they can see my screen. I'm not seeing it on the GoToWebinar panel, but Michaela, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So this is our offer on how you can take this home with you. Now, Jim's book is...
Who's this Jim guy you keep talking about? I don't know.
You got me there, Keenan. So I've known Keenan for a long time, and I love the fact that he is on brand all the time. And I think that's something we could all learn. What is your brand? I think you should Google yourself today and go look at what shows up on that first page. Do you show up? And I encourage you to Google Keenan and see if that shows up, because that's an example of how to build your brand so that you are in the cycle of conversations with customers around your products and services. Keenan's new book, I think, is revolutionary because it makes you rethink the way that you sell and how you serve. I think service is the new selling, and you need to help facilitate people's growth. My philosophy is that we're on this planet to grow by helping other people grow. And this book teaches you how to do that at scale. And we're going to give it away. We're going to give away 3 books. If you go to this URL there, nim.li, Keenan book, and sign up for a trial, we're going to give 3 people a book. And I'm going to also go personally buy 5 more books. And I'm going to give them to anybody who hasn't signed up for a trial before, who's a customer of Nimble already. And we'll sprinkle some of Keenan's love across the rest of you all. But I do encourage you to connect with Keenan and invite him into your organization. If you are a sales leader, Keenan can help transform your organization by doing what he did today in detail, at scale, over time, if you are willing to jump that gap to achieve your goals in the future. And so this is how to get a hold of Keenan. His website is asalesguy.com. There's his Twitter account. There's his LinkedIn account. Feel free to connect with me. Tell me about how we might be able to help you grow better, smarter, faster in the future. And with that, I'm going to dump the screen, turn my camera back on, and just say, Keenan, thank you. Thank you for taking your time today to get up on that proverbial soapbox to inspire and educate people. I know how you move people because you move me. I've seen you personally speak before. I remember sitting in that audience at that sales conference in San Francisco where I was going, this guy, yes, this guy. And with your Not Taught, you taught people about how they could build their brand and stand out from the crowd. With this book, it tells you how you can achieve your dreams by helping other people achieve their dreams, but not in some sort of wishy-washy way. You give them a blueprint. You give them a roadmap. You teach them how to do it. And that's why I love this book, and I love you, man.
Love you back, baby. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and listening to me rant. Appreciate it. I hope it was valuable to everyone. I hope it was valuable.
Well, based off the feedback that we got, Keenan, it was amazing. So thank you so much to everybody. Have an amazing Friday. Have an amazing weekend. And go Rams.
Go Patriots.
Rams, baby, Rams.
There you go. That's good.
We'll be talking to you on Sunday, Keenan.
Yes, I know. I can see them flying now. I can see the text flying across. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. We got 5 already. We could use a 6. Can't hurt. Been to 9 in the last 18 years. You know, it's all right.
To be the best, you got to beat the best. And when Brady first went to, I think, the Super Bowl, didn't he have to beat the Rams?
Yes, he did.
So that was 10 years ago?
18. Okay. They weren't even LA Rams. They were the St. Louis Rams.
All right. It's time for the goat to go down.
Yeah, that's what everybody keeps saying. That's what they keep saying.
All right, buddy. Have a great game.
Right,
I just hope it's a great game. Peace out.
All right, peace.